Hello and welcome to my YouTube channel. My name is Alexey, and today I have a special guest, Miles Dimitri Baker. Miles is an American guitar virtuoso and Schecter artist, best known for his former band Rings of Saturn and his current band Interloper. Miles has wonderful and very knowledgeable guitar videos on RIFFHARD. So in this case, if you want to learn how to play the electric guitar, you can check out his videos on RIFFHARD. And also Miles gives his own guitar private lessons. All links will be in the info box of this video. It's a huge honor to have you on my YouTube channel today, Miles. And let's start our interview. How you became a guitarist?
I started playing guitar when I was 10. One of my best friends at the time had a guitar, and I think I just liked how it was, and it was cool, and I liked that he was doing it, and so I started playing. Just started playing off and on, and I think my parents ended up getting me a guitar maybe right before I was 11, and then it was kind of from there. I got more into it as time went on. I think when I was like 16, I really started playing a lot. Like 15, 16. I was getting lessons and taking classes in school and all of that. But that was how it started. I was like 10 years old.
My next question is, what advice can you give on which guitar and what guitar equipment people should buy nowadays when they want to start playing the guitar?
I do have signature models out with Schecter, so I got to say that. I do like my guitars, obviously. However, probably if you're starting out, something that does not have a Floyd Rose on it, that's a big one. Something that's just a hardtail bridge, I would say is important. But as far as gear goes, for like modern guitar players, I really like the fractal audio stuff if you know how to use it. It's really good. I think that stuff's really good. Neural DSP has some really good stuff as well. Absolutely. I think that's good stuff. As far as like specific gear like strings and stuff, I use Elixir strings. I like those. I like the nano webs. I like the coated stuff. Dunlop picks is what I use. I don't know many other pick companies almost. I feel like they're the only one. And then that kind of covers. I like Fishman pickups. That's all the stuff I use. I think it sounds great, so that's what I do.
What tips can you give on creating a good guitar tone at home for practicing guitar playing?
So one of my favorite tones that I have is something that actually I didn't even make. It was Andrew made it. It's modeling a Thorndal amp. If you're using amp modelers, anything like that, looking into like the amp models that model iconic things like a PV 5150, 5153, Mesa Boogie, dual rec, triple rec, all that. What I'm using right now is based off of a Thorndal modern amp, I believe. And as far as tips for the tone, I think having a less gain than it seems like is usually a good idea. Take some of the mids out. I think somewhere between like 1K and 1.2, I think I pull out a little bit. And then, where else? Or no, that's backwards. I think that stuff stays in. I think like 2.4 gets pulled out. No, I'm thinking about it. Yeah, I think the 1 stays there, 1.2. And then, I like guitar tones that don't have a bunch of mid-range because I think it sounds like a box. I think it just sounds like that. Sounds like shit, in my opinion. So I usually make sure something's not too like low mid heavy, and that clears everything up. A lot of my practice tones, even on like little amps that I have, like the Positive Grid Spark Go, I always pull like there's a graphic EQ. I'll pull like 200, 500, pretty low. That's what I like to do. I think that cleans things up a little bit.
Which fundamental guitar exercises a person should learn, first of all, when a person starts playing the guitar?
I think getting a grip on alternate picking is wise. I think being able to do, 4 notes a string, 3 notes a string, and when you make the string changes, making sure you're appropriately changing strings is huge. I think that's really important. And Yeah, I mean, fundamental things like when you first start, like how you're holding the pick, having someone show you that will save you time, making sure you pick from the wrist and not like the elbow. Um, and then hand angle stuff, like on the back of the neck, making sure you're not, you know, your thumb. A lot of things people do is like their thumbs off to the side or like way over the top of the neck, and that's not good. So I think having someone kind of address some of those issues is a wise thing.
How important is it to know musical theory in guitar playing nowadays?
I mean, I think it's important. I think it's very important actually, because if you're trying to write or do things or, you know, work with bands and do stuff, not everything, like you need to know what you're doing. You know, you need to know what you're playing. You need to know, like, someone's like, hey, can you play a lead in, you know, this key? Play a lead over this? And you're like, oh, what are the chords? Cool. Okay, got it. Yeah, I know what key we're in. If you don't know that, because there's a lot of people who are like, oh, you know, like I just feel it out. And it's like, well, it sounds like shit. You know, like it's clear that you don't know what you're doing. You know, like there's some players who play guitar and don't know music theory, but like they're really, really exceptional. You know, like there are some people like that who are really good, regardless of knowing theory. But I would say it is very rare. People who don't at least know like basic chords, like building triads, understanding the chord progressions to figure out what key it's in, or even like your basic like major minor modes. You know, I think it's very obvious when people are like that. So I would say it's important. I'm not saying you need to be like a theory nut. You know, I know people like even myself. Like I know a lot, and I know some people who though like you know more obviously like went to got to get like a master's degree in music theory. You know, like they know stuff that I don't think is important or like relevant to actual day to day use. But it's good to know. Don't get me wrong. I'm not knocking them. I'm just making the point of like, I think there's a level of theory to learn that's like really functional and really helps you in like day to day, like playing with people, that type of stuff.
What tips can you give on alternate picking, and what is alternate picking and why is it important in guitar playing?
I mean, the tips I can give are to stay relaxed, not pick too hard, not dig your pick too far into the strings, and actually do alternate picking, not economy picking. Be aware of when you're slipping into economy strokes or stuff like that. That's kind of the major tips. It's literally just down, up, and it doesn't stop.
What tips can you give on learning to play sweeping guitar techniques? And in this case, how to find a balance between left and right hands?
Sweep picking, I mean, one thing I like to say is it takes less movement. I don't think you should be sweeping from the elbow. Like that's not how you should do this. Should be from the wrist. You're turning your wrist, pushing, pulling, pushing, pulling. You want to make sure your pick strokes are going forward, back. You know, there's a lot more to it than that. Like you're getting into the nitty gritty, but like my easy explanation for it is think about painting a wall. You're not going to like jam your paintbrush, the bristles into the thing. It's like smooth strokes back and forth. That's really a big one there, I think.
What is the difference between arpeggios and sweeping for you?
It's the same thing, really. You typically sweep pick arpeggios. You know, it's usually what it is of some sort, whether it's major, minor, added tones. You know, you could do seventh, ninth. You know, it's really kind of what it is. There's not really any circumstance that it's not an arpeggio.
What tips can you give on playing arpeggios in the right way?
I would say go slowly and yeah, I would say play slowly and make sure every note is ringing out as best as it can, and make sure that you're muting. You know, your right hand, left hand muting is going to be important to make sure they're quiet. You know, that's really the big thing.
What tips can you give on playing bends and vibrato?
The stuff needs to come from the wrist, you know, wrist and the fingers, you know, but it's not just like a pushing up and down type thing. It's more along the lines of, you know, you're pushing with your wrist and like turning a tiny doorknob. You know what I mean? I would also say, you know, practicing your intonation with them, making sure you're getting comfortable with them. I mean, I struggle more with bends and like on my G string, say on, you know, between 3rd fret and 9th fret. It's really easy for me to like overshoot those. You know, it's a lot of tension on that string, so you push harder and then you just go way further than you need. So I think getting comfortable with doing bends all over the fretboard is really what it comes down to.
What helps you to get great results in playing the guitar?
It's time and like wanting to do it. At a point in time, I still like playing. At a point in time, I really loved playing. It's different now. I don't put the same time I used to into it. I still make sure I maintain a level, but like where you see really big increases is when you're putting in those 5, 6, 7, 8 hour days. Like you can only play so much before your hands are tired. Everyone's kind of different. Like I've had days of 8 hours of playing, for sure. If not more. However, as I'm getting older, I'm not old, but my hands are a little more tired, that type of thing. So I think when you have the time, put the time in.
Do you record yourself at home while practicing playing the guitar?
Yeah, I will if I'm practicing, is the thing. Like, I feel like I tour so much, I don't really practice how I used to. I get ready for the tour. I play the songs I need to play. You know what I mean? And none of that is beyond my ability anymore. You know what I mean? I'm pretty I can play all this stuff pretty well. But when I do get into that practice mode, which is rare, I will take videos of myself playing or pull a camera up like this and just watch. I'll put it up and then I'll just watch the screen and look at, it's usually this hand. It's usually always that.
How do you create unique guitar tones for Ice Nine Kills songs?
I try to make tones that match I have a tone that I like I was saying, Andrew made a tone that I really like. I made a couple changes to it. However, it's a great live tone. And then for any of the parts that are specific, I will try to recreate the effects on the album. So if there's dotted delays, I'll make sure that's right. I'll try to make sure all the tones have any sort of delay throws are at the right tempos and stuff like that. And just, fitting the part, like the beginning of Rash Decision, that whole thing. Making a really washed tone, trying to find something until I'm okay, that sounds kind of close. Let's get it a little closer. That's it. It's literally just trying to recreate the sounds on the album.
What is your approach on recording guitar parts for Ice Nine Kills?
So I don't actually track any guitar for Ice Nine Kills, so I can't answer that. However, I would say that none of it is one take through. No one records like that anymore. There are bands, not this style of music. No way. If anyone in this genre of music said they record stuff one take, I would say you're full of shit. I'd just be no, it's just not how it works. When you're doing you at least have a left right, or if you're quad tracking, you're going to need to do multiple takes until you're okay, that one was really good because these line up, they're perfect. Don't need to really edit them. That's not how it works. There are some people, and I've one take stuff for sure. Especially leads and solos, but it's usually part. That's usually how it goes. But that's, again, I'm not recording for Ice Nine, so that's how it's worked in every other band I know. So I would assume it is no different. But you got to remember, I haven't been in the band since the record's been out.
And my final question is, can you do recordings of your guitar on a pro level at home studio, or should you go to a professional studio nowadays?
You don't need to go to a studio anymore. Doesn't matter. Unless with the very rare instance of needing to use amps and cabs, which you could arguably, depending where you live, of course, do that at home. All of the stuff is amazing now. Everyone, you should be recording a DI signal with everything because you can change the tone after. That's the way to do it. There's rock bands who are I want the tone in the one take, and I don't want to have a DI. That's cool. That's stylistic to that world of music. That's fucking cool. I've recorded on tape in a studio doing solos, where I had to do the whole thing all the way through. And that was for a classic rock band. So that made sense for that. It shouldn't be perfectly edited guitars that are robotically clean. That shit. What is it? The Hey Jude solo by the Beatles. There's a big open B string in it. It's that was not in the solo, but they kept it, like that's cool. And now it's like a part of it. Like if someone covers that, I'm sure they're deliberately like making that mistake, So yeah, I think you can do all of it at home. There's no need to record guitars in a studio, in my opinion. I could see drums, absolutely. But most of the time things are programmed anyways. And they sound pretty real. I think real drums sound better. But like, it's close. Vocals, you could probably do at home too, honestly. It depends on the gear you have, But like you could build out a vocal booth. Like I could build a vocal booth in this room.
Thank you so much, Miles, for such a wonderful, very knowledgeable interview. It was a huge honor talking to you, and thank you so much for all of your knowledgeable guitar lessons at RIFFHARD, because they're super amazing and they're super helpful. And thank you so much for everything you do for audio community. Thank you so much.
Oh, it's my pleasure, man. No worries.